Good morning again.
Good morning.
And have you had a chance to take a look at that video?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Okay. And is this another portion of your patrol car video?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this actually the view inside the back seat of your patrol car?
Yes, ma'am.
And this was recorded on February the 2nd, 2013.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Have you had a chance to view this video?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And just recently as well?
Yes, ma'am.
When you watch this, did you notice a difference in a variation in the defendant's demeanor as we go through this video?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what was that?
I noticed whenever there was a crowd around or some people talking to him, he seemed to be distraught. But whenever we'd close the squad car doors, he seemed to just kind of be laid back and relaxing.
Okay. And the camera that's in your car, if somebody's sitting in the back seat, do they necessarily know they're being recorded?
No, ma'am.
Is it a kind of a hidden camera or?
It's mounted up on the top bar of the brace bar, and the brace bar is padded with some black covering, and the camera's mounted up there, and the camera's black. It's just sitting up there, but it doesn't have any lights. It doesn't have any kind of indicator that it's on. It doesn't have any indicator of the lux value where normally it would have like a little green light or anything. It just sits up there.
And so has it been your experience? I mean, I assume you have transported people in the back seat of your patrol car on many occasions.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Like the most summer I've had in a couple days. I'm serious.
Okay, Officer Salazar, we obviously just saw a car ride there. Where are you taking the defendant?
We're going back to the Lancaster Police Department at 1650 North Dallas Avenue.
Okay. You're transporting the defendant from that location at I-35 and around Wheatland where the chase stopped.
Yes, ma'am.
Back to the police station. And was it your purpose, was your duty that day to interview the defendant?
Not interviewed, no, ma'am.
Was it your purpose was to secure him in your vehicle and transport him to the police station?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at the beginning of that video, we heard you say something about a Remington rifle.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that. Did you find a Remington rifle in that truck?
Yes, ma'am. There was one in there.
And did you initially remove that from the truck?
Yes. I was told by my sergeant to clear that weapon.
And secure it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you eventually, though, were you told to put that back in the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there's a part in the video where we see the defendant move over to kind of the edge of the seat on the left side of the screen here. Who's he talking to there?
EMS.
Did y'all have EMS and fire come out and check him out?
Yes, ma'am, because he had been involved in the collision where Officer Grimes had attempted to disable his truck.
Okay. And did they determine that he was not injured?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I believe you told us the other day that you yourself served in the Marines, and we hear you talking about that on there.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're transporting somebody, is it important for your safety and everybody's safety involved that the person be calm as possible under the circumstances when you're transporting them?
Yes, ma'am.
So are you trying to, I guess, build a rapport with Mr. Ralph while you're talking to him?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
So you mentioned him and you were also a Marine.
Yes, ma'am.
Served in Iraq too.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what was the purpose of that?
Just to make sure he doesn't, just freak out in the back of my car. I mentioned that to a lot of people, especially service members, try to build up that rapport, try to understand to make sure that they know that we were kind of on the same side at one point.
Now, and so you said you served in Iraq. How long were you there?
9 months.
And in what time frame?
I believe we got there early February.
I'm gonna check this point to relevance.
I ain't going somewhere with this, girl. So what time frame were you there?
Early February, end of February into November, December timeframe.
What year?
I believe it was 04. I believe it was. That was the year.
And did you tour various parts of the country when you were there?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Are you familiar with a military base in Balad?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And are you also familiar with a military base in Fallujah?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And now, the base in Balad, would you characterize that as a small base or a large base?
I think it was like considered the second largest air base there, from my understanding.
Okay. And then comparing that to Fallujah, is Fallujah a larger or a smaller base?
Oh, that was a lot smaller base.
Okay. Now, are you familiar, based on your training and your experience in the Marines, with what an armorer's job is?
Somewhat, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And what's your understanding of what an armorer does?
I know we go get our weapons from them, some ammo. They PM weapons.
What's PM?
Preventive maintenance. We turn our gear in and they inspect our weapons to make sure we're properly cleaned. If something was wrong with the weapons, we bring them back to them and they'd fix it.
And so if you need a weapon to go do whatever your duties are that day, would you go and get it from the armorer?
Normally we would already have them issued, but that's who we initially would see to get the weapon.
And they maintain the gear.
Yes, ma'am.
And in your experience in the Marines in Iraq, do armorers generally leave the base?
No, ma'am.
Now, are you familiar with there being prisons or places where they detain enemy combatants at either of these bases?
Yes, ma'am.
And are there people over there in Iraq that are involved in, I guess, the drug trade, finance, whatever their task, whatever they're doing over there?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Is that the way that some people make a living over there?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, are there people over there that might be referred to, if somebody said a drug lord, would that be, I guess, a term for someone over there involved in the drug trade?
Yes, ma'am.
And are there also people over there in Iraq, enemy combatants, people that would be referred to as warlords?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a fairly common term over there?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And so if someone, if the defendant used those terms, is that something that would be used in the context of Iraq?
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
And we hear you on the, I guess sort of at the beginning, you're talking to another officer, kind of telling what your understanding was of what happened
Yes, ma'am.
that day with the defendant. Now, is that just based on information that you're receiving from somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have personal knowledge,
No, ma'am.
you're just repeating what you heard.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
I pass the witness.
I have no further questions.
All right, you may step down.
Chief, could you introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Jason Upshaw. I'm the Chief Deputy for the Erath County Sheriff's Office.
Have you had a chance to review the contents of that disc?
Yes, sir, I have.
And does it contain a call from the Erath County Jail from May 31st of 2013?
That is correct.
And are you able to identify, have you listened to that call in its entirety?
Yes, sir, I have.
And in that call, are you able to identify the participants, one or more of the participants in that phone call?
Yes, both parties.
Okay. Who are the parties that you could identify in that call?
The defendant, Eddie Ray Routh, and Nicholas Schmidl.
Now, who is Nicholas Schmidl?
He is a reporter for the New Yorker magazine.
And how is it that you can identify the defendant's voice? How do you know his voice?
I've been with him for the last 2 years.
Did you observe through closed circuit TV the original interview with him by Danny Briley on February the 2nd, 2013?
That is correct.
And how is it that you can identify the voice of this Nicholas Schmidl?
I spoke with him on the telephone prior to the interview with Mr. Ralph.
So he had contacted the sheriff's office as part of investigating for his news story.
That is correct.
And you say he works for the New Yorker. Are you familiar with his writings for the New Yorker?
Not prior to this, no.
But you do recognize you've heard that voice before.
Yes.
This call will be an operator service charge of $1.25 plus an additional 50 cents for the first minute and 50 cents for each additional minute. Hello, this is a call at no expense to you from an inmate at the Erath County Jail. This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this call, dial 3. To refuse this call, dial 9 or hang up now. Thank you for using Infinity Networks. You may begin speaking now.
Hello? Hello? Hey. Hey, Eddie. How you doing, man?
So, sorry, we're getting back to that day though. So Jen called on Chris Kyle's phone?
Yes.
And she must have gotten a number from your mom, I guess, yeah?
Well, it was on the freezer. So I guess she obviously remembered it.
And when
I can't remember it.
That was on the drive, so that was as you all were just leaving?
Yeah, that was when we were heading to the range. She tried to call. I said, "Fuck that! I don't want to talk to her." I already stated my facts that morning, So there I was. I got up early. I mean, I got up fucking early now. It was I don't know, 4 in the morning or so. And maybe even earlier than that. Started some coffee. Cooked myself a sandwich. Made a, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. And I asked her if she wanted anything to eat. And she was like, "No, I'm good." And she still ate a piece of bacon, I guess that's how you earn your bacon, Earn that fat back. That's what they call it. It's really on the belly. Do you know where it comes from?
So as you all were driving after she called, then you didn't talk much the rest of the way, or you did a little bit.
Well, I mean, they just didn't want to talk, you know, he's talking Waterburger and got us about to eat. And, you know, I thought that was strange, you know, I didn't tell him I was hungry. Mm-hmm. They just pretty much like force fed me. I mean, I guess they didn't force feed me. I mean, I still ate, but I didn't ask them to eat. Mm-hmm. They just went through the drive-thru and pulled up to the first window, and I told them, I go, aren't you tired of eating all, you know, tired of eating all this other stuff and all this shit, you know, all this shit everybody else is eating? And they're like, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about you, but, you know, you get tired of eating the same old shit day after day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What you know? I know the Army and the Marine Corps have been fighting it out for fucking years now. Mm.
So y'all kept driving and got to the gun range, and then what happened there?
We got out and Chris, he was shooting the 45, and you know, he handed me a 45. Well, okay, he handed me it was a Navy. I'm pretty sure it was a single action. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I guess it's called Army. You know, go Army. Mm-hmm. And, the Army, you know, he handed it up to me and I set it down and I was like, nah, it's all right. Well, I picked up a 9mm, started loading the mag, I filled the mag, shot a magazine, 8-shot magazine. Oh, okay, so we're shooting pistols here, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess that's pretty much saying duel, motherfucker, you know? So I loaded up another magazine. It was the smell in the air that morning, you know? It smelled like shit. Mm. And, yeah, that's when I had to take care of business, and then I took care of business, and then I got in the truck and left, and was fucked up, you know? Got back in the truck, put in a fucking dip, started heading north on 67, and stopped at the Dollar General, trying to buy it was a Dr. Pepper, and then line was out the ass, and I was like, fuck this. So I threw the Dr. Pepper down and all ass, and now I got to Alvarado to my Uncle Jamie. Mm-hmm. Or James, I guess you'd say, Uncle James. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, got sick. I remember the Mexicans next door, they just got back from the grocery store and they're carrying in some groceries. And,
So do you still have 9mm with you at this point?
I did.
And so you all were both at the range and both shooting at targets about how far away?
No, mine was at 25. I think his was at 50.
And you just then did he say something to you, or did you just turn? I mean, what sparked?
What sparked me was I kept looking at Littlefield and I was like, what the fuck are you even doing here, man? I asked him a couple times, I go, hey, you gonna shoot? You gonna shoot? You gonna shoot? You gonna shoot? And he's like, no, I'm good. What are you doing? It's in a spectator sport. It's a shooting sport. You shoot. And that's what got me all, you know, wired up. And I was like, this motherfucker, all he's doing is watching. He watched it.
Did you shot Chris first?
No, I didn't shoot Chris first. I shot him second.
And did Chris fire at you as well?
Oh, he was shooting off beside me, you know.
Yeah, but did he? So you're standing there and you shot Littlefield, and then you turned and shot Chris.
Yes, sir.
And did Chris, after you shot Littlefield, did Chris try and come after you or shoot you or anything?
Well, You know, it was like I started shooting, and he was just finishing a magazine. He just finished it, last shell. Jumped right under the gun. I guess that's how you dropped to 45, you know.
So he was shooting the 45, yeah?
Yeah, he's shooting 45. 45. And I guess I really should have picked up the 45, you know. They work better. They got more weight.
Did you, on the ride there that day, did you feel like, you know, you came back and you said something to Laura, I think, that you know, you couldn't trust them, and so, you know, you had to kill them before they killed you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how I felt that day, you know. That's how I was feeling.
And you felt that way from the time, I mean, almost from the time they picked you up, that whole car ride, that's how you felt?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there was other times. It smelled like cologne, you know. It smelled like sweet cologne, and then it'd go being sour on the motherfucker like I guess it was love and hate, you know. It's smelling love and hate. They were giving me some love and hate. You can smell it when it's in the air, you know. I mean, don't you smell it? You're out there on the East Coast.
When what's in there, though? Well, I don't know how that relates to what was, you know, can you smell that when you were in the truck with Chad and Chris?
Yeah. I guess it really wasn't, I guess I was smelling myself, really. I was riding in the back seat.
So you went from your uncle's house, you went to Laura's house, and then from there, where did you go?
So, hey man, I went to the house after that. I went back to,
Chief, was the date of that call 5/31/13?
Yes, sir.
Almost 4 months after the defendant was taken into custody?
That is correct.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
So you were over the jail, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Does he take medication for antipsychotic issues?
I know he's on a number of medications.
And do you have, based on your being the administrator of the jail, do you know why he takes the medication?
He's been prescribed the medications by his doctor.
Is that a psychiatrist?
I don't know what he had when he first arrived in Erath County, whether because he had been to, from what I understand, different doctors prior to us having any involvement with him. Ever since we've had him, it's just been one doctor.
And is that a physician here in Erath County?
That is correct, sir.
Do you know if that physician's a psychiatrist?
No, he is not, I don't believe.
So for the past 2 years, he's being seen by a physician for whatever the issue is. And I know you're not a physician, but for someone who's not sick, he sure takes a lot of medication, doesn't he?
We give him what the doctor tells us to give him.
I'll pass one to Sean.
Redirect, Your Honor. Now, I know you're not a doctor and you're not totally versed on what the purpose of his medications are, but when the defendant was brought to the Erath County on February 3rd of 2013, did the jail take steps to obtain his existing prescriptions from the Veterans Administration?
Yes, they did.
And did the jail continue him on the same medication regimen that had been prescribed by the Veterans Administration?
Yes, they did.
And since that time, has he had access to medications as continually re-prescribed by the jail physician?
Yes. Yes.
During that time, has the defendant had any sort of psychotherapy or treatment from anyone other than, or psychotherapy at all?
No, sir, he has not.
Has he had any treatment from any doctor other than the jail doctor?
No, sir.
During that time, has he had access to any sort of illegal substances?
Absolutely not.
Has the jail controlled everything he ate and took into his body since February the 3rd, 2013?
Yes, sir.
In the days, weeks, and months following his arrest on February the 3rd, 2013, have you and the jail administration observed a change in his behavior?
Yes.
In general terms, has his behavior become calmer?
Much more.
Has he become more compliant
Yes, sir.
and less erratic?
That is correct.
Has his physical appearance changed significantly since he was arrested on February the 3rd, 2013?
Drastically.
His medications have been consistent,
Yes, sir.
but he's had no access to illegal drugs during that time.
No, sir.
Now, since counsel brought it up, we just listened to that call. It speaks for itself, but I want to ask about your perception of it. Prior to Nicholas Schmidl asking Eddie if he feared for his life, did the defendant ever say anything in that call about having fear of Chad Littlefield or Chris Kyle?
No, sir.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Initially, when he was, that would be my client, Mr. Ralph, was housed in the Erath County Jail, there's a local attorney, Shay Isham, who is at counsel table, one of the co-counsels for Mr. Ralph. Did you have to call Mr. Isham on different occasions to come down and speak to Eddie to help calm him down?
Yes, sir.
And I think you testified a few minutes ago, his behavior and his overall philosophy has changed significantly since he's been in Erath County Jail, is that right?
It has gotten much better.
And you know for a fact, since you control everything, or almost everything, that he is taking the medication, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief, I appreciate you being here.
Brief redirect. Just to clarify, since the time he's been in custody, he's been administered the medications which were already prescribed.
That is
That's repetition, Your Honor. That's
Over-
fine, Judge.
Overruled.
I'll ask you again, since the time he's been in custody, has he been administered the prescriptions he was already prescribed when he was taken into custody?
Yes, sir.
And his behavior has improved.
Yes, sir.
His weight has changed.
Yes,
And he's had no access to illegal drugs.
that is correct.
Pass the witness.
Well, in all fairness to you, the VA is a government-owned, a government-run facility, is that right?
Yes, sir.
By the United States government?
Yes, sir.
And that is for people who are veterans of, whatever they're veterans of, war, combat, not war, things like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you can't tell this jury that the medication he was prescribed by the VA while he was not in custody, he was taking, can you?
Not while he was not in custody, no.
You have no idea if he was consuming his medication at all, is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Or if the VA prescribed the amount, the proper amount of medication. You don't know that, do you?
No, sir, I don't.
Thank you, Chief.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.
State your name for the record, please.
Jody Ralph.
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do.
And what are your children? What are your kids' names?
I have Laura and Eddie.
And you see Eddie, president of the council table?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how old is he now? How old is he now?
Eddie's 27.
Prior to going to the military, did he have any history of any mental illness to your knowledge?
No, sir.
Had he, as a child or as a young adult, ever been to a psychologist or psychiatrist for any treatment of any mental illness or disease or defect?
No, sir.
When he left the military, did he act differently than he did prior to military service?
Yes, he was different.
Explain to the jury how he was different.
Well, he wasn't his happy-go-lucky self like he had always been. A lot more serious. Very very concerned for his family. Sometimes he wasn't able to express exactly how he was feeling.
Did his behavior change in terms of how he talked to folks, treated folks, and things like that?
Still very kind-hearted, but would he would, you know, be more aware of who is around him.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that he would really watch what was going on around him, what was going on behind him. Just very cautious about people.
Was he acting paranoid?
Yes, sir, he did.
When was the first time after he was released from his service in the United States Marine Corps that he sought treatment for any mental health issues?
I believe it would have been early 2011.
And if you recall, where was that treatment received?
At the Veterans Administration Hospital in Dallas.
During that time frame of 2011, was he ever hospitalized in the Veterans Administration for any psychiatric reason?
Yes, he was, on a few occasions.
I'm not going to ask you specifically about that treatment because you're not a physician, but how long was the first stay in the VA hospital?
The first stay was 3 days. He admitted himself. And within a few days, he was readmitted against his will.
Did something cause that to occur that he was involuntarily admitted to the Veterans Administration?
Yes, he was very suicidal.
Had he threatened to kill himself in some specific manner?
Yes, sir,
Well, how was that?
with a gun.
When was he released? Do you remember?
It was about 3 weeks later.
If you know, based on reading the prescription, what medication was he prescribed when he left the Veterans Administration?
There were 9 different medications, and as far as being able to tell you all the names, they were antipsychotic medications, sleeping pills, mood elevators. He was on 9 different medications, and I wished I could tell you exactly all the names, but I don't know right now.
And when was the next time he was admitted into the hospital for treatment?
The next time he was admitted would have been January 2013.
So he went from 2011 to January 2013?
I actually believe there was one other hospitalization between there. And right now I can't think of the date. I'm sorry.
Did Chris Kyle's children go to the Midlothian Elementary School you worked at?
Yes,
And boy, girl, 2 girls, 2 boys?
one boy, one girl.
And I don't want another age. I don't think that's appropriate. How did you see Mr. Kyle come to that school?
I would see him when he was dropping his children off. In the morning, I would be on car duty, and I would see the cars coming and going.
And you knew Mr. Kyle to be a veteran of conflicts and war overseas, is that right?
I did. I knew he had written a book because he did a speech at the school.
When was the first time you approached Chris Kyle about trying to help your son? If you can recall.
It was the first week after we came back to school from the holidays, so it was probably January 6th through the 10th, something like that.
2013?
Yes, sir.
And what did you ask Mr. Kyle to do with drug and
I asked him if he was still affiliated with his Fitco Cares program, and I wondered if he could help Eddie with some workouts, possibly get him some workout equipment. And he said yes, if you will give your number to one of my children, put it in their backpack, and I'll get that, and I'll get in touch with Eddie.
And did that happen?
Yes, I wrote the number down, and I put it in the child's backpack after asking his teacher and the child, could I do that? And within a couple hours later, Chris came back to the school to talk to me.
And did you go inside the school and discuss the issue?
Yes, we did.
And what was that discussion about specifically? What did you share with him?
I shared with him that Eddie was having trouble, that the VA had diagnosed him with post-traumatic stress disorder. And
Now, that's a VA that said that, correct?
the VA said that, yes. And Chris said he understood that because he also had post-traumatic stress. And he said he would love to do anything and everything in his power to help my son.
On January the 20th of 2013, your son went back to the VA.
Yes, sir.
And why did he go back to the VA?
Because he was taken to Green Oaks, and Green Oaks transferred him to the VA because he was psychotic.
How long did he stay at the Dallas VA? That started on January the 20th of 2013. How long was he there?
He was there until that Friday, so the 25th.
Let me ask you, did you ever plead with the Dallas VA not to release your son?
Absolutely, I did. On Thursday, they called me at school and said, we're releasing Eddie. You need to pick him up.
So what did the Dallas VA tell you?
They said, okay, we'll keep him. They kept him on Thursday because I objected and said he's not ready.
You meant for a longer period of time, didn't you? Not just one day.
Yes, I did.
But you begged the U.S. government not to release your son, and they still released him.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, your husband had already transferred in the oil and gas business up to Hereford, is that right?
Yes.
And so you were living in the home with Eddie during that time frame after he released from the Dallas VA?
Yes.
At some point, needless to say, you hadn't seen your husband much. If you and your husband set a time to spend husband and wife time together.
Yes, we did.
And when was that?
That was February 1st,
What year?
2013.
To your knowledge, was there any specific plan by Mr. Kyle to meet with your son on a specific day?
Not that I knew of.
So you were gone on February the 1st of 2013 to meet with your husband.
Yes.
Where did y'all go? Where did you go?
We went to Abilene.
So you weren't present on February the 2nd, 2013 when Mr. Kyle came by your house in Lancaster to pick up your son to take him wherever he was taking him.
No, sir.
And you had no knowledge that was going to happen on that day, is that correct?
I did not.
And later that day, or later that evening, did someone in law enforcement contact you about your son?
My daughter contacted me
Your daughter contacted you first.
first, yes.
And your daughter contacted you, and you don't say what she said, but she told you that something had occurred, is that right?
She did.
And at some point, did someone in law enforcement contact you, to your knowledge?
No, sir.
They never contacted you?
No.
Well, was a phone call made to your son? I guess you're in Abilene. We hear your voice on a recording. Was a phone call made to your son while he sat in Chris Kyle's black Ford pickup truck, to your knowledge? On the
Yes.
second?
Yes.
How did you know? I guess what I'm saying is, how did you know to call your son?
I wasn't calling my son. I had Chris's phone number in my phone, and I dialed that number praying to God that he would answer.
And so the phone that you dialed was whose phone?
It was Chris's phone.
Did you talk to your son while he was sitting in Chris Kyle's truck in front of your house on the 2nd of February?
I did.
Because it's in evidence now, and I think the jury's heard your voice. I don't know if you've heard that, but there's a conversation with you and your son in Lancaster PD had your son surrounded. And you're aware that you talked to a police officer in Lancaster PD, right?
Yes,
Who was that?
that was Jesse Chavera. He was also my neighbor.
Jesse didn't call you on your phone, to your knowledge? If you don't remember.
I don't remember. I'm trying to think, but I don't remember.
Anyway, you learned that your son had been arrested for killing Mr. Kyle and Mr. Littlefield, is that right?
Yes,
And I don't want you to say what you heard it is or believe it is, but you've heard that your son has been diagnosed with certain mental health issues. Is that fair to say?
yes,
And that's by physicians and psychologists?
yes, psychiatrist and psychologist at the VA.
I'll pass the witness.
I want to talk to you a little bit first about your son. Mr. St. John was asking you about his familiarity with firearms,
Yes,
and you said that he, like a lot of boys in Texas and around here, grew up hunting.
yes,
Dad hunts,
yes,
uncle hunts, dad took him hunting,
yes,
uncle took him hunting.
yes.
What kind of things would he hunt for?
Deer, rabbit, dove.
All kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's not me that gets upset, it's this man in front of you here. So, and what types of guns did Eddie have growing up?
Deer rifles, shotguns.
Okay. Any handguns?
No.
Mainly rifles and shotguns.
Yes.
Types of weapons you hunt with.
Right.
And in fact, he liked to hunt even after he got out of the Marines. Is that correct?
Yes.
Went hunting.
I'm sorry.
Went hunting with friends.
He went hunting with friends.
Went hunting with family.
Yes.
Maybe went hunting with his girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay. I think I read something. He took a gun safety class as early as age 12.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Okay, so he was familiar with guns from the age 12 on up.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he went to the Armory School in the Marines
Yes.
and learned how to repair small arms.
Yes.
Now, when we say small arms, we're not just talking about handguns, right?
No.
We're talking about anything from a handgun, pistol, semi-automatic, revolvers, on up to pretty much up to like what, grenade launcher? Anything in between?
At least a 50 caliber.
Okay, up at least to a 50 caliber weapon,
I would believe so, yes.
and that's a pretty big weapon.
Yes.
Okay, so small is kind of a relative term.
The name the Marine Corps gave it.
Okay, and how long was that school that he went to learn how to repair and maintain weapons?
I believe it was about 6 months.
And did he show some kind of aptitude for weapons that kind of made him route him that way into armory school?
Yes.
And was he a pretty good at handling weapons?
Yes.
Pretty good shot?
Yes.
Pretty skilled with weapons.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, is it your understanding that his job as an armorer would involve him repairing the Marines' weapons, the small arms,
Yes.
and maintaining them, make sure they're in good operation condition?
Yes.
And then if somebody needed a weapon, he would distribute them to that person.
Yes.
Not to make this sound at all like a derogatory term at all, because it's not, but have you heard that job referred to as in the rear with the gear?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Never heard that term?
No.
Okay. Well, because you understand the job as an armorer is kind of a behind the scenes position.
Yes.
They're there to make sure that the people that are going out onto the front line have good operational gear.
Yes.
Right? And that's an important job too. Now, you said he was, after boot camp, he went to the small arms repair. At some point, did he go to Camp Lejeune in
Yes.
North Carolina?
Yes.
And what did he do there?
He worked in the armory.
Right. And then after that is when he went to Iraq.
Yes.
Okay. And was he an armorer for some period of time in Iraq?
I don't know.
Do you know where he was stationed in Iraq?
I don't know the name of the town. He was a prison guard.
Okay, so he was a prison guard, and was he also an armorer as well as a prison guard at different places?
I don't know.
He was in a place called Balad for a while, wasn't he?
I don't believe so.
Was he in a place called Fallujah for a while?
Yes.
Is that where he was a prison guard?
I don't know.
Now he was there for what, 7 months?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he returned back to Camp Lejeune, is that right?
Yes.
About 2 years in Camp Lejeune.
Yes.
And then he went off on the ship, the Mediterranean.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was, he said, for 2 years?
No, that was for 7 months.
Okay, okay, you're right, 7 months on the ship, and he was an armorer on the ship.
Yes.
Again, distributing firearms to people.
Yes.
And then he came back from that in about December of 2009, is that right?
Yes.
And he went back to Camp Lejeune.
Yes, ma'am.
And then from there, it was shortly after that that he was deployed to Haiti.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a humanitarian mission.
Yes, it was.
Now, by the time he came back from the ship, and that's actually, it's what they call an MEU.
Right. Marine Expeditionary Unit.
Okay.
Yes.
When he came back from the MEU and then he went back to Camp Lejeune by late 2009, had he already decided that he was kind of looking at getting out of the Marines?
No. I think he wanted to stay.
But then he got deployed to Haiti
Yes, he did.
and was there for about 3.5 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a humanitarian mission post-earthquake there.
Yes.
Undoubtedly a pretty awful situation down there. A lot of, it's a poor country to begin with, right?
Yes.
People don't have a lot, and then they had even less after the earthquake.
Yes.
Now, you said something about, was it his job to make sure that the people on the land had food and water and supplies and distribute that?
That was part of the job he did.
Okay, now you said something about cleaned up bodies from the beaches. Who'd you hear that from?
From Eddie.
You ever heard that from any other source besides Eddie?
That was part of the Marine Corps job.
But you never heard that story from anybody but Eddie?
The media.
Not saying that the media didn't say he did it.
No.
I'll talk to you a little bit about, just kind of what Eddie's like. Have you ever heard anybody in your family or anybody else kind of just say, that's Eddie being Eddie?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. What does that mean?
Free-spirited, happy-go-lucky guy.
He liked to be funny,
Most definitely.
liked to kind of crack jokes.
Yes.
Still does that with y'all, right?
Yes.
I've heard the term by some people that, and they say it endearingly, he's kind of the class clown.
I never heard his teacher say that, but he's just a funny guy.
He likes to entertain people.
Yes.
Likes to be witty,
Yes.
be sarcastic sometimes.
Yes.
Can sometimes say things that are maybe kind of shocking or inappropriate to people.
Some people might find it shocking.
Well, y'all's family, I get the impression that there are a lot of topics that are not off limits in your family. Would that be accurate?
I don't understand the question.
Well, for instance, it's not off limits in your family to have a discussion about, say, for instance, bodily functions.
Nope, it's part of life.
Just something y'all talk about.
Yes.
Wouldn't be off limits to talk about sex with somebody in the family.
No.
Sometimes he uses very colorful or profanity when talking to even you and his dad.
Yes.
Very colorful language.
Do you mean cussing? Or I don't know what you mean by colorful. I don't understand.
Have you noticed sometimes he speaks kind of in metaphors or idioms.
No.
So let's talk about the drinking. How long has Eddie been drinking alcohol?
Probably since 17.
Since high school.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what does he usually like to drink?
Beer.
And have you seen him drink excessively before?
Yes.
Did you tell, you remember talking with a Ranger, Jamie Downs?
Yes, I do.
Last March 7th, 2013.
Yes.
He actually came up and visited you and your husband up in Hereford and interviewed y'all.
Yes.
Do you remember telling him that Eddie would often drink until he passes out?
I did tell him that.
And do you remember telling him that you have seen Eddie get drunk and get angry?
Yes.
In fact, there was a particular incident right before he was hospitalized in September of 2012.
Yes.
And that was actually around September the 2nd, 2012, right?
Yes.
Now that was was it like a barbecue or a fish fry or something?
It was a fish fry. Fish fry family gathering.
Okay. I'd heard the story, it was a fish fry, but then maybe there wasn't enough fish and you had to supplement it with some takeout food or something.
I don't remember that. I know we fried fish.
Okay. But a family gathering.
Yes.
And now, your husband had come home from his job up in the Panhandle for that, right?
Yes.
Now, when did your husband Raymond go work up in the Hereford area?
It was in 2012, around March 2012.
Okay. And I don't know that I'm clear. What does your husband Raymond do for a living?
He was working for a company that makes cattle feed lot equipment.
Okay, so he moved, not really permanently moved, but he's staying up there. And would he come home sometimes and visit the family?
Yes.
Okay, and so Mr. Raymond Ralph is kind of hard, so we may call him by the first names occasionally so we know who we're talking about. His husband Raymond had come home for this family gathering.
Yes.
For the fish fry. And had he not been home for a while?
No.
And actually there was an incident, let me get clear who's there for that. Your daughter Laura was there, right?
Yes.
Her husband Gaines.
Yes.
And their little girl Julie.
Yes.
And now Julie was about how old at the time?
Maybe 2.
And then there were some other people there too, right?
Yes.
Eddie's Marine friend Arturo Alanis was there.
Yes.
And his wife, Alanis, Alanis, is that right? And his wife, Kashana, was there.
Yes, Shani.
Shani, that's what they call her.
Yes.
And then their little girl.
Yes, she was an infant.
And were there some other people there too?
I don't know.
Those are the people that you can definitely remember there.
Yes.
And at that family gathering, Eddie got pretty drunk, right?
He did.
Got in a fight with his dad.
Yes.
There was some, I guess, an argument about whether his dad could sell Eddie's firearms. Is that right?
There wasn't, no.
Was there some discussion about selling Eddie's firearms?
There was a discussion about selling an antique firearm to pay for Eddie to go to school.
Oh, okay. And whose firearms were those?
Those belonged to Raymond.
But fair to say Eddie didn't want to sell those weapons.
No, because they were antique and they belonged to his great-grandfather.
Okay. And in fact, Eddie got really mad about that.
He did, because he wanted to get his benefits from being in the Marine Corps and not have to sell a family heirloom to go to school.
Right, but in fact, he and his dad got into it, and this resulted in Eddie threatening to kill himself and the family, right?
Yes.
In fact, you were frightened.
Yes,
And you were so frightened that you called the police about that incident.
I did.
And you relayed this information to the police.
Yes.
He's been threatening to kill himself and the family.
Yes.
Rightfully concerned about that.
Yes.
And were you so frightened that you had Arturo remove all weapons from the house?
Yes.
And then was it at this point or was it some other point that you gave some guns to your friend Donna Taylor?
That was at another point, I believe.
Okay. So after the fish fry, you had Arturo remove the guns from the house.
Yes.
And so you called the police, and did they find Eddie walking down the street shirtless and upset?
Yes.
And they actually took him into custody and took him to Green Oaks Hospital. Is that right?
They did.
And then Green Oaks Hospital transferred him to the VA.
Yes.
And were you aware that he tested positive for marijuana during that hospital stay?
No.
Now, prior to that hospitalization, there was one back in, I think you referenced 2011, right?
Yes.
And that was actually July 2011.
Yes.
Before that had happened, Eddie was working in Houston, right?
Yes.
Working with his cousin Adam,
Yes.
doing construction.
Yes.
You ever been to Houston in the summertime?
Yes.
Pretty miserable, isn't it?
Try to avoid it.
I used to live there. It's a pretty bad place. Working outside though, doing construction.
Yes.
And did there come a time that he called in sick to work and took a cab to the hospital?
Yes.
And then his sister Laura came and picked him up in Houston.
She did.
And that was when he was telling people he thought he had a tapeworm.
Yes.
Now, do you know, did he have any kind of intestinal issues that were bothering him?
No, just that he felt that something was eating him from the inside.
Okay, so he thought he had some kind of medical problem, had a tapeworm.
Yes.
And his sister Laura then took him to the hospital.
Yes.
Took him to the VA hospital in Dallas.
Yes.
And were you aware that he actually tested positive for marijuana and possibly embalming fluid during that visit?
No.
Now, then after that hospitalization, you said it's when he went back, he got out and then he went back a few days later, a week
Yes.
or two later, for another stay at the hospital. And then he got out. Was it between that hospitalization and the fish fry that he lived with your brother James?
I don't know.
Or did he live with your brother James before he moved off to Houston to go work construction?
I don't know.
Now, let me talk to you about January 2013. You had mentioned that there was another hospitalization in January 2013, right?
At Green Oaks and followed up by VA. Yes.
That was actually started January the 19th, 2013, right?
Yes.
And then so you understand that that was preceded by an incident involving his girlfriend and her roommate.
Yes.
And his girlfriend at that time was Jennifer Weed, right?
Yes.
Do you know her roommate to be named Gabriella Lucero?
No, I did not know
You just
her.
knew Jennifer had a roommate.
Yes.
And do you know that that involved him threatening Jennifer Weed and Gabby Lucero with a knife, as well as a ninja sword?
I know he had a knife, but no, he was not threatening them.
And who's giving you that information?
Jen.
Okay, Jen told you that.
Jen said that he was afraid somebody was trying to get her, not threatening her with the knife.
Okay, you're not aware that he actually threatened Jen and Gabby with a knife, threatened to kill them?
No.
I'm not aware that he actually threatened to take them out to East Texas and kill them?
No.
Not aware that he actually threatened to use them as human tampons?
No.
Not aware that he wouldn't let them leave the apartment?
I knew he didn't allow him to leave.
Okay, so he held them there in the apartment with a knife and didn't let them leave?
Yes,
That's all you know?
yes,
And that's coming from Jen Weed.
yes.
And how long had he been dating Jen Weed when that happened?
Probably for about 6 or 7 months.
And did they, in fact, live together briefly?
Shortly, yes.
That was actually after the fish fry incident. He went to live with her.
Yes.
Because you and his dad didn't want him coming back to live with y'all.
No, he made that choice.
And so he lived with her shortly, and then did he end up coming back to live with you? And
Yes.
Lancaster? Did he have trouble getting steady employment?
Yes, he did.
Did he feel that people didn't appreciate that he had been in the Marines?
Yes.
Would he often tell employers that he was a veteran and find that it didn't really seem to make a difference?
Yes.
Did he think he ought to be able to get a better job than he was able to find after he left Millsbury?
Yes.
Had to take some jobs working at fast food places.
Yes, ma'am.
Worked at Sonic at one point.
Yes.
Worked at a pizza place.
Yes.
Fair to say he didn't really like those jobs.
No.
I mean, who would?
I'm sure some people love him.
But he didn't.
He didn't. No.
Sometimes he would have a job where he had a hard time dealing with the other people at the jobs.
Not to my knowledge.
Did you tell Ranger Downs that sometimes he had a hard time dealing with people at jobs?
I don't know.
Do you remember telling Ranger Downs that sometimes Eddie would have angry outbursts?
Yes.
And this, I guess, complicated his employment situation.
Yes. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. That's been quite a while since I talked with him.
Or were you talking about him having angry outbursts at work or just at other places?
Just at other places.
But you'd seen him have angry outbursts.
Yes.
Do you remember telling Ranger Downs after the military he angered easier?
Yes.
That the least little thing would set him off?
Yes.
It'd be fair to say he didn't much like being in the VA hospital when he went there.
No. No, he didn't like it.
Didn't like the doctors there?
No.
What did he not like about the doctors?
They didn't listen.
Did he sometimes get frustrated because they were foreign doctors, maybe didn't speak English that well?
Yes.
He hated going to group therapy, didn't he?
He did not like it.
In fact, he would often get angry when he was told he had to go to group therapy.
He didn't like it.
He didn't like it that they wanted him to get substance abuse treatment, did he?
No.
He didn't want to get substance abuse treatment.
He wanted treatment for his illness.
But he didn't want to give up alcohol and marijuana, right?
He didn't, but he did do that. He did give it up.
When? After he went to jail?
No, while he was being treated, he was not drinking and smoking marijuana.
When he was in the hospital?
Even when he got out, he wasn't.
And what period of time were you talking about?
The 2011 hospitalization.
But by the time he got out after January 2013, he didn't give it up, right?
Yes.
I guess that was kind of a double negative. Yeah. He did not give up marijuana after he got out of the hospital in 2013, did he?
No.
And in fact, he wasn't allowed to go to the Waco program because they wanted him to demonstrate a period of sobriety before he could get into that program. Is that right?
No.
No?
No. They said that he was not psychologically sound enough to enter their program.
And by psychological soundness, do you know that they would require him to be sober before they entered that program?
No.
Now, in late January 2013, after the incident with Jen Weed, your girlfriend, that caused him to go to Green Oaks and then over to the VA, I think there came a time that he wanted you to tell the doctors that he was ready to get out, right?
Yes.
And in fact, he got out around January the 25th.
Yes.
Now, do you remember telling Ranger Jamie Downs that it was the same Friday Eddie was released from the hospital against your wishes that you asked Chris Kyle if he could talk with your son Eddie?
No, I don't remember that.
If we have a recording of you saying that.
Then I said it. I don't remember it, but I said it, yes.
Okay. I mean, does that sound right?
Yes.
And then, so you're referencing though the Friday after he got out of the VA that January.
When I originally talked to Chris the one time, it was right after school started back. It wasn't that late in the month.
Well, you remember though telling Ranger Downs it was the Friday after Eddie got out of the VA.
I probably did.
I mean, that's a pretty, I would imagine a pretty emotionally intense time in your life that, you know, he's in the VA hospital.
Yes.
And that's what caused you to reach out to Chris Kyle and want him to help your son, right?
It was prior to him going into the hospital that I was reaching out to him.
Do you remember talking with Chris during this first conversation? And there was one conversation where you kind of saw him in the kid drop-off lane, right?
Yes.
And that's when y'all discussed about whether he could help him through the Fitco Cares organization.
Yes.
And asked if you could send your phone number home in one of his kids' backpack.
Yes.
Is that your handwriting?
Yes.
Did you actually send these notes home with one of Chris Kyle's children?
I put it in the child's backpack.
Okay, the yellow note you put in the child's backpack.
Yes.
Okay, and it has your number and Eddie's number on here.
This is our home phone number. That is my cell phone number.
Gotcha, okay. And so you put this in Chris Kyle's child's backpack.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you wanted him to help Eddie.
Yes.
Now, was it at some later date that you gave Chris Kyle this note, states 160?
I believe I wrote this when he came back to the school and talked to me. I'd already placed this in the child's backpack. And then I wrote this when Chris came and visited me in person.
Okay, so you gave this one to Chris Kyle in person.
Yes.
Okay. And was that same day, though, that you had talked to him in the child drop-off lane?
Yes.
So after you mentioned I'm getting the impression the first exchange with Chris Kyle is rather brief.
Yes, because it was in the drop-off line. I just opened the car door for his kids to get out and said, "Do you still do Fitco? My son needs some help." And he said, "Yes. Give me the number. I'll get in touch with y'all." It was that short.
And it being the child drop-off lane, there are other cars probably behind him.
Right.
Got to get out of the way.
Right.
But you saw at that time what type of truck he drove.
Yes.
It's that big black truck.
Right.
And so it's later that same day that Chris came back to the school and talked to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did somebody notify you that he was there to talk to you?
Yes, the office called my classroom and asked me to come to the office that I had a visitor.
And so did you go down there and meet somewhere in private with Chris Kyle?
Yes.
And discuss Eddie with him?
Yes.
And ask for his help?
Yes.
Now, did you tell Chris that Eddie had been hospitalized at that point in time, depending on what date you think this is? Did you tell him he'd been hospitalized back in July of 2011?
Told him I did not give him specific dates. I just said he had been previously hospitalized.
Did you tell him he'd been actually hospitalized twice in 2011?
Yes.
Did you tell him he'd been hospitalized in September of 2012 after getting drunk at the fish fry and threatening to shoot himself and the family?
I didn't give those specifics, but yes.
So what did you tell him?
I just said he had had several hospitalizations at the VA and he wasn't getting the treatment that he needed.
So you don't think, though, you told him that one of those hospitalizations was precipitated by getting drunk at the fish fry and threatening to kill himself and the family?
No.
Did you tell him details like that Eddie had been an armorer in the Marines?
Yes.
And so he knew that.
Yes.
Did you tell him that Eddie enjoyed shooting sports and firearms?
Yes.
So he knew that. Did you tell him that, I mean, how much detail did you get into about Eddie's hospitalizations and why he lived there?
Not a lot of detail. It was a short 5-6 minute meeting. Didn't last very long. Chris assured me that he understood what Eddie was going through and that he understood about the over drinking and he understood that the VA did not give the help that he needed and that he was fortunate enough to have his own doctors and he didn't have to rely on the VA for his care.
So, be fair to say you didn't disclose to Chris Kyle incidents where Eddie had become violent in the past.
That's repetitious, Judge.
Overruled.
You didn't tell Chris Kyle that Eddie had had angry outbursts.
I did tell him he got angry.
You didn't tell him the extent of that, though, did you?
I told him what I was asking for, and he talked more telling me what he could do to help Eddie by getting the fitness equipment and becoming a buddy with him and letting him understand that he was not the only one that suffered after serving in the military.
In retrospect, don't you think it would have been helpful for Chris Kyle to have known that Eddie had once gotten angry and threatened to shoot himself and the whole family?
That's not relevant, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Yes.
And you, fair to say you probably regret not telling him that much detail.
I was just looking for help for my son.
And Chris Kyle actually told you that, I promise I'm going to help your son, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And he said he was going to do everything in his power to help your son.
Yes, he did.
He actually gave you a hug at the end of that visit.
Yes, he did.
And you gave him y'all's phone numbers again. And he actually did follow up and talk with Eddie on the phone a few times, right?
Yes.
Now you knew that there were plans at some point to go to the gun range.
No,
You didn't know that.
I didn't.
Do you remember telling one of your coworkers, Dana Gentry, that you thought that was a good plan, that Eddie would be out in his element and he enjoyed that kind of thing?
I said Eddie would enjoy hunting. Yes.
So in January 2013, Eddie wanted to get out of the VA hospital.
Yes, he did.
Didn't like it there.
No.
Didn't like the VA.
No.
Didn't like the doctor.
No.
Didn't like that they were telling him he had to stop smoking marijuana and stop drinking.
He didn't like that they were giving him too much medication.
But also didn't like that they wanted him to stop marijuana and drinking.
I don't know.
And so Eddie had filled out an application at some point, right, for the VA to get disability benefits, correct?
Yes, that was in 2010.
Okay, so right after he got out of the Marines, he applied for disability.
He just applied for his benefits. I don't know if there was actually disability, but
Are you aware that he filled out an application for disability?
I know he filled out an application for benefits.
Were you aware that he checked off every body part imaginable, even erectile dysfunction, to get this ability?
No.
He got money from the VA, correct?
Do you mean benefits?
Yes.
Yes.
And in fact, every time he would go to the hospital and be hospitalized, they would increase his amount of money, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I misanswered that. He never got any benefits until after he was in jail in here in Erath County.
So
He never
after-
received a penny.
So after he killed 2 men, the VA deemed him to be disabled and started giving him money.
Yes.
And now who gets that money now?
He gets it, and I put it in an account for him.
We actually get kind of a lump sum for back pay on that.
Yes, he did.
There's been a lot of questions from people in this route about Eddie's appearance now versus how he looked in 2013. And so fair to say he was much thinner in 2013 than he is now.
Yes, ma'am.
But when he was in the Marines, it would be fair to say he was very fit and very muscular.
Yes.
And I'll show you States Exhibit 336, 337, and 338. And do you recognize the person in those photographs?
They're my son.
Okay. And have you seen these photos before?
I have. They were sent to me by someone that he said he served with Eddie.
Okay. And you believe these fairly and accurately portray Eddie as he looked when he was in the Marines?
Yes.
So you were off in, was it Abilene?
Yes.
February the 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Visiting your husband.
Yes.
And when did you left that Friday first?
Yes, after school.
And you first got word that Eddie had killed these 2 men when Laura called you frantically.
Yes.
And she said that Eddie was at her house
Yes.
and he was driving a large black truck.
I'm gonna take your second.
Oral.
Laura's frantic when she's calling you, right? I think
Yes.
that was your word that you used.
Yes, she was frantic.
And she said Eddie came here and said he killed people
Yes.
and that he's driving a big black truck.
Yes.
And when she said that, did you know whose big black truck that was?
I had a good idea.
And because of that, did you try and call Chris Kyle?
I did.
And he didn't answer, did
And
he?
he did not answer.
And Laura, when she called you frantically, was afraid he might come back and kill her,
She was very afraid.
for her and her family.
Yes.
She said that Eddie said he was going to go to Oklahoma.
Yes.
So you got no answer when you called Chris.
No.
And then did you then call other family members to try and warn them?
Yes.
And you called your neighbor, Jesse Shavera.
Yes.
And then you learned a few hours later that Eddie had been caught by the police in front of y'all's house.
I learned that he was arrested on the highway.
Right. He actually, they were, I guess, surrounding him in front of your house.
Yes.
And Jesse Shavera called you on the phone and tried to get you to talk to Eddie and get him to give himself up to the police.
Yes.
But he didn't do that then.
No.
You understand there was a chase that ensued.
Yes.
And then that's when he was caught on the highway after he fled from the police.
Yes.
Now, he's been in jail for a little over 2 years now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You talk to him regularly on the phone,
Yes.
correspond by letter with him.
Yes.
Now, you gave an interview to a reporter from the New Yorker named Nicholas Schmidl.
Yes.
And actually then, did Eddie tell you that he was going to also talk with Nicholas Schmidl?
He said Nicholas had tried to call him there.
And did you warn Eddie not to talk to a reporter?
I did.
That wouldn't be a good idea.
No.
Because you know, when he calls from the jail, there's that recording on the phone.
Yes.
And so everybody knows that those calls are recorded.
Yes.
And so, is your understanding though that he did, in fact, talk to Nicholas Schmidl against your advice?
I did not know.
You haven't heard those calls?
No.
That Eddie said that he wanted to talk to Nicholas Schmidl and that to get his story out.
I don't know.
They tell you that Nicholas Schmidl was gonna help him get out of jail.
I don't know.
And you know where he is now, where he's housed at the Erath County Jail, that he has his own cell,
Yes.
has his own TV,
Yes.
gets to watch a lot of TV.
Yes.
Not a whole lot else to do, right?
Yes.
Read or watch TV. He watches all kinds of cable shows.
Yes.
Seems to have kind of a big cable package, maybe not HBO and those channels. But
That's not really anything else, Judge.
Sustained.
when you talk to him on the phone and by mail, does he often update you about what he's watching on TV?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
No further questions, Your Honor.